Every family deserves a home because every family unit deserves to have a place that they can come home at night and know that tomorrow's going to be another day and they can pick up tomorrow and continue moving forward.
The word home, I mean, it's just a sense of home.
It's just a need that people have their own place to call home, their own place to lay their head at night.
It's really hard to focus on anything else if you don't know where you're going to be staying.
We all deserve to be safe and secure. It's just a basic human right.
What would you be without a home? You know, you would just be.
To have a home is something I feel as though everybody deserves because you want to feel like you belong. Me and my children, we share laughs and, play games.
Wake up in the middle of the night and drink out of the milk carton, even when your mom told you not to.
And drink hot chocolate and, tell corny jokes. My home is receiving all of the love that I feel as though I deserve, that they deserve.
It's really, really important for everybody to have a place to call home.
So is everybody ready? Here we go. Anyway, I wanted to say good morning to everyone and happy May. And guess what? Happy sunshine. Look out there. Doesn't that feel good? Anyway, my name is Jeff Anderson, and I'm the chair of the board of Solid Ground, and I'd like to welcome you this morning. This is the 17th annual Every Family Needs a Home breakfast. 17th annual, and it's the first in the resumption of live breakfasts. So we've had 2 years of virtual events, and now I'm excited to look at a room full of three-dimensional people. And I also want to welcome those who are joining us today virtually, and welcome to our event. I initially got involved with Solid Ground by being a volunteer and helping gather some items that had been donated. And I know all of you probably have your story of your first encounter with Solid Ground. All of them are important. Today, together, we celebrate Solid Ground because we know the importance of working to tackle homelessness, one of society's most important, complex, and messy problems. This organization does not grasp for the quick and easy fix. Our model is holistic and comprehensive. I've seen how our mission goes beyond addressing the immediate homelessness of our participants to breaking the cycle of not only homelessness, but also of poverty for the current and hopefully future generations. You'll hear more details about this later in our program. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I want to thank all of you for coming this morning to support this great organization. I also want to extend a special thank you to our sponsors, and you've seen their names up on the board during the presentation ahead of time. But our sponsors today are Duffy Development Company, Echo Coffee Company, Winthrop and Weinstein, API Group Foundation, the Shavlik Family Foundation, Eco Water, and Mutual of America. And I can assure you that our dedicated leadership and staff are awesome. They really are. And so I'm asking all board members who are our leaders and also our staff and leadership staff to give a big wave so we can see who they are. There's not time to introduce everybody, but these are very important people in this organization and very dedicated and inspirational to all of us. And finally, I want to thank the Solid Ground events team for their thorough work preparing for this event and also for our table captains. So this could not happen without them, and I think we should have a short applause for those who invited you to this breakfast this morning. We're all here to make a difference in the lives of women, men, and children in our community. The work done by Solid Ground makes a big difference for the families that we serve. In addition to those we have already recognized, your support is crucial to achieving our success. Please give generously today. Also, a special announcement needs to be made. To enhance the impact of your giving, a friend and longtime supporter of Solid Ground, Solveig Svenside, has provided a generous $10,000 match for every new and increased pledge to our giving circle, which you'll learn more about soon. Now we're going to take a short break so that those of you in this room can enjoy yourselves with your other table mates and enjoy a breakfast. And those watching from home, we have a short video that will appear that shows some things about Solid Ground and the work that we do. So thank you for joining us this morning, and in just a few minutes after this visit time, we will restart our program. Thank you and enjoy.
Good morning, everyone. How great is it to be back together again? Yeah? I have really been looking forward to this morning, knowing I would see so many familiar faces. It's great to see everybody. I'm Tricia Kaufman. I'm the Executive Director of Solid Ground. I have been with Solid Ground for many years now, and many of you know my story, how I grew up in a loving and stable family, and I lived in the same home from the age of 2 until I went off to college. But I haven't told this story, how I worried my family would lose their housing when my dad's union was planning to strike. I was about 10 years old, and it was fall, almost my birthday, and I remember overhearing my parents talking about, how are we going to pay the bills if my dad isn't working? I remember them saying, everything else can wait, but no matter what, we have to pay the mortgage. And I walked into the room and I said, you guys don't have to get me anything for my birthday. I just want my family to be okay. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to lose my house, my friends, my school. Flash forward many more years than I'd like to admit, and wanting families to be okay and safely housed is still what I want. I have met many children, far too many children, in my time at Solid Ground who have attended 5, 8, 10 different schools before they've even entered high school. I mean, can you even imagine that? My family didn't lose their house, our house, back in 1976, but I still remember that sickening feeling, the worry and the fear of the unknown. Most of us in this room have never experienced homelessness, but I think we can all understand how it must feel to lose the safety and security of home. And providing that safety and security of home is what Solid Ground is here to do. We combine affordable housing with supportive services to help families regain stability, and we take a housing-first approach. We get families into housing first, and then we provide them with the services they need to increase their income, improve their health, and achieve academic success. Most of the families at Solid Ground have incomes at or near the poverty level. They aren't even close to living a living wage, much less a union wage, like my dad did. Low incomes, poor credit, and other housing barriers essentially shut them out of the traditional rental market. Then you add in issues like substance abuse, domestic violence, mental illness, and the challenges are even greater. And I'm not going to lie, these past 2 years have been really difficult. Being separated from friends and family, from our coworkers, from our program participants has been challenging. We've seen increased rates of domestic violence, mental health crises, and substance abuse. Gray hair. Okay, those of you who were here in 2019, this wasn't there. The eviction moratorium has ended, and our phones are ringing off the hook with people who need help avoiding eviction or are looking for new housing because landlords aren't renewing their leases. But we're not giving up. We can't afford to. The pandemic has taught us all many things. How important community is, how much we need and rely on each other, and that housing is paramount to someone's safety and health. Solid Ground served nearly 600 children, women, and men last year, more than ever before. And this happened despite a 24% decrease in housing exits from our program compared to the year before. So that means we kept more families safely housed during the pandemic, and we also connected more families with new housing. And I want to acknowledge all of our staff, but particularly our housing navigators this morning, who have probably the toughest job at Solid Ground. They're on the phones, they're calling landlords, they're chasing people down, making sure the rent gets paid. It's a tough job. And we are just getting started. We launched a new prevention program last year called Home to Stay that keeps families in their current housing or moves them out of overcrowded housing and into their own homes. We also expanded one of our scattered site housing programs into 4 more school districts so that we can make sure kids are stable and focused on their education. These new programs will allow us to house 100 to 200 more people every year in the next few years. And in alignment with our strategic plan focus on increased access to housing units, I am so excited to share this morning that we are partnering with Beacon Interfaith Housing to bring a new 40-unit supportive housing development for young families in suburban Ramsey County. Those, if you aren't familiar with Beacon, they are focused on housing people at 30% of area median income or lower, so very, very low wealth families. All 40 of these units will serve youth aged 18 to 24 and their children, so real little ones, and we're going to help break that cycle of homelessness for both generations. And depending on financing and the supply chain, it should be open in the next couple of years. Solid Ground has grown so much this past year, and there is still so much to do. All of you and your support will keep us moving forward and help sustain this work. And as Jeff said, by making a new or increased Giving Circle gift today, you can double your contribution through our matching gift opportunity. So I want to thank you for being here, for all you're doing, and for helping families find home. Thank you. Before we move on, I have the privilege of asking some special people to stand and be recognized this morning. Peace and her son, Alexander, right over here. And Joshua, I'm not sure if Josh is here today, but they are participants in Solid Ground Housing, and were gracious enough to allow us to film them for the video that you're about to see. But I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here this morning and to acknowledge all the hard work that you are doing to help make a safe and stable and happy home for your son. Congratulations. Thank you.
I was in a serious domestic violence situation. I have 4 children, 1 on the way. And I had just been kind of going from state to state, place to place, trying to just, get away. So once he actually went away, I decided I was just gonna plant my feet where I was, and we were just gonna try to get stable.
At the time, we were in a hotel.
All 5 of us in a hotel room, 2-bed hotel, just as much as you could think. Like, I'm grateful for it, but whew.
So I was born and brought up in Lagos, Nigeria, and I came here by myself. It was rough though. I was stuck no documents, no immigration paper, I was considered illegal. I was pregnant too, so that was how I found myself in one of those shelters.
Couple times I was in situations where I was living at other people's homes.
I saw this lady and she said, oh yeah, you can come live with me with your son. In the nighttime, they bring out the thing from the couch. So me and my son would sleep there in the nighttime.
As you know, you can't control what happens in other people's homes. So some environments were toxic.
It was rough, like kids be doing things, they steal, they break things. So I just like keep him with me all the time. He's just a happy kid, so I don't want my son to see that.
Towards like the third shelter, I believe, you couldn't be out like at a certain time. And my mom kind of felt a little trapped, and I kind of started feeling that too, because I couldn't go to sports, I couldn't play basketball, and at the time I was starting and I couldn't play because games would go to like 8. But then the commute home is about like an hour and a half. So I would come late, and then my mom would get strikes and stuff like that. And so yeah, it's just hard, and embarrassment. I definitely felt embarrassment. I couldn't have, you know, like bring a girl home, come meet my mom. Couldn't have, you know, like game nights or stuff like that. Just things that, you know, normal kids would be able to do. I wasn't able to.
A lot of the times the barriers were me trying to go out and take care of business or look for housing. But as you know, you can't have your kids at the shelter. You gotta, you know, take all the kids with you, and that's a big one in shelters.
Breaking the cycle of homelessness means stopping poverty and homelessness in its tracks. The number one risk factor for an adult to become homeless is whether they experienced homelessness as a child. So if we can intervene early in families' lives and help them improve their health, increase their income, learn how to be good tenants, we're going to have a really lasting impact on that family and on the communities they live in.
You know, I want my kids to not have the struggles that I had. I want them to be comfortable. I don't need them to be rich, I don't need them to be famous, but comfortable enough to be able to live, to be able to breathe, to say I am okay. I'm not drowning, you know, with my head barely above water.
Every family deserves their own home, because it's kind of mess up with the head of your kids or even you as a parent when you don't have your own place.
There's so much stress that comes from experiencing homelessness that when you are homeless, you can't see the bigger picture. You're only focusing on the short term. You're just focusing on how you're gonna feed your kid, where you're gonna sleep tonight. You're not thinking about, you know, your mental health, your kid's mental health, your kid's education. There's only so much that you can handle, but when you're housed, it gives you that opportunity to access the resources that your family needs.
I've been a resident of Solid Ground for almost 2.5 years now. Honestly, I didn't even ask any questions. They was like, do you want to move into this place? Yes. I think it was the best decision that I could have made because I was able to contain the environment, you know, control it, and, you know what my kids was exposed to.
And the apartment here is really nice. I actually really, really like it. I just get to be in my own environment, to breathe my own air for just a few seconds, just feeling, you know, comfortable, you know.
When families have safe and stable housing and they can focus on employment and schooling and all those other things that kids and parents need to do, we all benefit from that.
When you help Solid Ground help others, you are building a better community. It's completely a ripple effect. The dollars that get contributed have such a huge effect, and it just keeps on going. The circle gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Solid Ground is like a strong foundation for families. So having Solid Ground is like having everything.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to take a quick second to actually recognize Janice, another participant who is here today. She didn't get to stand and be recognized. Thank you, Janice. I'm Erica, a housing navigator with Solid Ground's Homework Starts with Home program, and I would like to share my story with you of how I'd come to use Solid Ground services 7 years ago. This is a very sensitive story, so if at any moment you feel uncomfortable or pressured, please take time for yourself. 7 years ago, I was a stay-at-home mom and girlfriend. Taking care of my child and partner was my job, but I was unhappy and unsatisfied with life. I wanted more. I wanted my own money, my own career, and most importantly, to help others. Upon expressing this to my partner, I was met with immediate denial and suspicion. He thought, why do you need to work? If I make enough money to pay bills and put food in our home, there's no need for you to want to leave the house. This was a problem for me. I knew this was going to be an issue between us because I knew my desires were not unreasonable. This was power and control. It felt wrong to be told, there's no need for you to leave the house. From that day, I began looking into jobs and daycare services for my child. This was my second mistake. My third mistake was thinking he wouldn't find out. He had access to my cell phone, my laptop, and emails. One evening, he'd come home from work earlier than normal. I felt nervous and afraid. I could tell something was off. He'd gotten wind of my job search, and it enraged him. He blasted into the house so hard that he broke the glass of the screen door. I was met with a slap. He stood over me and said, "How dare you disrespect me?" He was so upset that he spat when he spoke. I couldn't speak. I was so in shock when he struck me, I couldn't even cry. I just sat there. My son was only 10 months old at this time. My mind flashed to him. I snapped to my senses and ran to his bedroom. He was sleeping, so that's where I spent my night, on the floor next to my sleeping baby's crib. The very next day, I planned to leave him. I'd never been hit by a partner before. I was scared for my life, and I was scared for my baby's safety. I called my friends and family looking for advice. They surprisingly told me to stick it out. He's a good man. He's got a good job. You'd be foolish to leave. This devastated me. In Latin culture, we are taught to stand by our man, and in African American culture, we are taught to never involve law enforcement. I was broken. I sat there staring at my son. He was so happy and joyous. He had no clue of our situation. I realized, as long as I'm good to my baby, he'll be okay no matter where we are. So I began looking for an outlet. I called different shelters and emergency helplines. They all said that they would get back to me later in the day. It brought on some relief. It posed a way out. That made me feel hope. He, again, had come home early, but this time he was drunk. There was no conversation had. He said, "I know what you've been doing today. I've seen the calls you've made, and if you think you're going to leave me, you will die first." He beat me so badly that I felt like he'd kill me. He slammed my face through a window, stomped on my back, and picked up my son by his leg and threw him against a wall. My next-door neighbor's grandson heard the commotion and come to our door with a firearm. He said, "If you hit her again, I'll shoot." My ex ran out the door and took off on a bicycle. The police found him and took him into custody. I told the police if he'd come back, that there's no way we'd be safe here. So me and my son, wearing nearly nothing, no shoes, no coat, no nothing, were transported to the Harriet Tubman East Shelter. The officers went inside and asked someone to come out to greet us. They were stunned at our appearance and the blood on our bodies. We were cleaned up, fed, clothed, and de-escalated. The very next morning, I filed a temporary restraining order, which I turned into a full no-contact order. With this, I began to feel secure, though I still struggled with the idea of what would happen if he found us. I took counseling and therapy. I started looking for employment and what it took to get an apartment. I had no idea what to do. Everything I had was in his name. My phone, my health insurance, my cards. I literally had to start from nothing. A girl I had come acquainted with at the shelter told me she had an interview with Coordinated Access to Housing. She said, "If you're serious about getting a place, you should call them." So I did. They interviewed me and said that I qualified for programming. I was then introduced to my Solid Ground advocate. She told me the process and gave me an understanding of my responsibilities if I were to receive services for me and my child. I was overwhelmed with hope. I knew that if I really tried what these people were telling me, then there would be a chance that I could actually get a place for me and my boy. I gained employment as a gas station cashier and saved every dime to get a vehicle. About a month later, I found a place. I was so encouraged and so empowered. I felt like I could really do this. Later in the week, I was approved for the 2-bedroom apartment. I didn't care if I had a bed or even a roll of toilet paper. All I knew was that Mommy did it. I was able. There were real options and solutions for my situation. Solid Ground supported me in all aspects of my life. They found a way to furnish my home through the bridging program, and what I could not get from bridging, the volunteers were willing to provide. They provided a children's advocate to aid my son in his mental health journey. He was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder and is now receiving treatment. They provided an employment counselor to aid me in finding lasting employment and a smart renters course to educate me on my rights as a tenant. They allotted me a monthly rental subsidy to ensure that I wouldn't be overwhelmed by my bills, and supported me until I was mentally and financially strong enough to stand on my own. The program gave me a well-rounded and secure independence that I could feel confident in. Solid Ground saved our lives. They saved me from a life of habitual abuse, and they saved my son from being a forgotten number in the system. So of course, the first thing I did was apply for advocacy work. I wanted to help other parents like me who were displaced and unsure of how to move forward, those who were unaware of the resources available to them. I worked as a sexual assault and domestic violence advocate for Turning Point, an organization in Wisconsin. I was soon promoted to a program manager and worked there for 4 years. I was interested in working closer to my home, so I began to search for other organizations near me. Coincidentally, Tricia Kaufman, our executive director, had reached out to me at this time with an offer to serve on Solid Ground's board of directors. As the board finds it important to have the voice of a participant as a look inside the programs to gain a better understanding of the specific needs of participants. I was absolutely honored, but I knew my true desire was to be employed by Solid Ground. I expressed this to Tricia, who gladly invited me to apply. I was nervous if I qualified, but I in fact aced my interview and was offered the housing navigating position 1 year ago. Since being employed, I've been able to encourage and motivate participants to follow their dreams and achieve their goals. It's the most amazing thing to see them succeed with our help, remembering when I myself was there, remembering the hard times, the hard work, and the undying support of Solid Ground. Now I get to see participants grow and become confident in their ability to gain stable housing and break the cycles of homelessness for their families. This full cycle story is the true beauty of our organization, the actual belief and proof that Solid Ground's service model works. We can really end homelessness permanently for folks who are willing to put forth the effort and try. Thanks to Solid Ground, hundreds of families are now equipped with the resources and knowledge that no matter what comes their way, homelessness is not an option for their families. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Erica, for sharing your story with us. Your resilience is inspiring, and your commitment to ensuring families are safe stable home where children can grow up and realize their hopes and dreams. My name is Mark Hauge. This is my second year as a member of the board. I first got involved in Solid Ground when we talked with a friend who is also on the board, Sarah Meek. My wife Ann and I were saying that we wanted to get involved in helping families that were experiencing homelessness find a place to live and support to overcome challenges like what Erica was describing. We think we found one of the best organizations to do that, Solid Ground. We immediately joined the Giving Circle and offered a matching grant at the breakfast last year. We are so glad we did. We are amazed at how many people Solid Grain serves. All of us in this room and those participating via the live stream video are here because we care and are touched by success stories we hear. It's my privilege to ask you to make a financial investment in our ongoing success, to help every family that needs a place to call home. This is not just a contribution to Solid Ground, it is truly an investment in our own futures. And I believe helping the people in need in our own community is one of the most important investments that any of us can make. The Giving Circle was established to build a strong foundation for expanding our programs and provide a stable future for Solid Ground. If you have been inspired by what you've heard, I ask you to join Ann and I by participating in the Giving Circle. Earlier, Jeff and Tricia mentioned that we have a matching grant from a longtime Solid Ground supporter, Solvig Swenside. Every new or increased dollar raised today will be matched up to $10,000, which would then translate into a $20,000 donation for Solid Ground. This is a great opportunity for all of us to increase our support for Solid Ground. Now, I ask the table captains to pass out the pledge forms on your table. For those of you joining virtually, there is a Join the Giving Circle button right on your screen. Please find the Giving Circle button now, and I will explain what you will need to do. The first Giving Circle level is the gift of hope. It is a pledge of $1,000 a year for 5 years. A gift of this amount provides after-school tutoring and individualized academic support to a student for 1 year. A gift at this level, which is $84 a month or $20 a week, will help our children succeed in school and develop a love of learning that can last a lifetime. The gift of home is a pledge of $2,500 a year for 5 years and provides a family experiencing homelessness with rental assistance for 6 months. We've heard today how important it is to have the safety and stability of a home. We know that many of you are part of a company or a foundation, or you just may be in a position to give more. The gift of tomorrow is a pledge of $5,000 a year for 5 years. A gift of this side provides life skill classes, parenting classes, tenant education, as was described earlier, budgeting for 8 families, providing them with the important skills that they need to move forward in their new future. To make a Giving Circle pledge, just select one of the first 3 boxes in the center column at the top. For those of you at home you wish to join, please click the Join the Giving Circle button and follow the directions. A special thank you to everyone who is joining the Giving Circle today. Now, if you've been with us before and you are already a Giving Circle donor, the next part of the pledge form is just for you. If you were so moved by what you heard today, perhaps you will consider increasing your annual pledge amount or adding to your original multi-year commitment. Paying off the balance of your multi-year pledge early is also an option. Because our Giving Circle was launched 17 years ago, many of our early Giving Circle members have fulfilled either 1, 2, or 3 5-year pledges, and we want to thank you. But our work is not done. It must continue, and we ask that your commitment to do so as well. Please renew or increase your Giving Circle pledge today to ensure every family has a home. The children need you. We know and respect that you may wish to give at a different level. As such, there are additional giving opportunities. You can make a contribution for a certain number of years or a one-time contribution. Please fill in the amount you would like to give and write out your check or fill out your credit card information. Perhaps you would like to consider a gift of stock, a monthly donation, including solid ground in your will or estate, or you have other ideas on how you can help support solid ground. If so, check the box that says, please contact me, and we will. As you consider your gift today, we want you to know that 90 cents of every dollar you donate goes straight to helping families access the housing and economic stability they need for long-term success. If you started a new pledge today, we would ask that you make your first payment either by check or credit card today. There's no time like the present. So please fill out the payment options section in the first column of the pledge form, and be sure to fill out the section if your company offers a matching gift. As you finish your pledge form, please place it in the envelope provided and pass it back to your table captain. Then table captains, please be sure to collect all the pledge forms and payments at your table and turn them into the staff at the front table as you leave today. Thank you for doing that. Whatever gift you made today, thank you on behalf of the families in all our programs. They are working hard to achieve stability and deeply appreciate your support. In closing, thank you again to all our sponsors, table captains, volunteers, and speakers. And table captains, if you wish, please take the flowers in the middle of the table as a token of our appreciation. And thank you all for joining us this morning. We hope you enjoyed the program, and I encourage you to come up and ask your questions. We are adjourned. Have a wonderful day.